know about specific, I mean, the zoning, just opening up a business locally. Again, I'm not sure at this point I would support just an edict from the state, but we have to praise and have a sounding board for municipalities that are doing things very well. Gilbert is doing well. Chandler, I think we've done a lot better. I helped create a few years ago when I first came on, and as a business owner, I mean, I've been through the process of opening a restaurant about 8 or 9 times. But even that many times, I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or I'm just forgetful, I don't remember exactly what you do every time you go through. And so it's very tough to get through that process. So we created a process where we have a small business team that will come out, and it has the fire marshal, the planning department, engineering, everybody there, and they will walk a suite with you before you've even rented it and say, okay, you're going to need to do this, you're going to need to do this, you're going to need to do this. And that way you have it memorialized, you have it in an email form to where when all those inspectors come by later on and say, well, no, you got to do this, you say, no, I don't, because it says right here I don't have to. Unless it's absolute life and safety, then you would be free for having to do that. And you know up front, you're saying, well, I'm not going to pay this much money on a lease if I have to do that much money in tenant improvements. So it kind of treats you like we treat Intel, or we treat these really big companies, because the investment of $100,000 or $200,000 in a business like mine is a lot of money, and you want to have all the information up front without having to go and pay an architect $15,000 to think it through for you before you sign on that dotted line. So that's something we've done in Chandler. How you get that to other cities and other regulations, municipalities to follow is the tough thing. Sal DeCicio's done a very good job in Phoenix of doing that one-day permitting and trying to shorten that process up, because that's time is money, in business. As far as other regulations, what was the question? Specific regulations. One thing is just a policy that I can think of off the top of my head, which is back in the early 90s, the state government, in all their wisdom, were really short on cash coming to the end of the fiscal year. So they came up with this ingenious idea of having business owners of certain size or bigger prepay their taxes, sales taxes, for half of a month in June, and then they get a credit for it in like August. And so every year, I have to come up with an extra $15,000 in the worst month, almost, in the middle of the worst months for restaurants in the Valley, because they created this loophole years ago. Not really a loophole, they created this regulation years ago because they didn't budget correctly. And so we're still paying for it. And I've asked the legislators over and over, it's just too expensive of a fix. But it's just really burdensome for a business like mine. And if it's for mine, I'm sure there's thousands of other businesses in Arizona. It's a very tough one to still be correcting a mistake from 1992 for the state government. But I'm open to anything that makes it tougher on business that is just not warranted whatsoever. I want to lighten. It's just crazy. I mean, whether it's licensing, I mean, I fought unsuccessfully in Chandler to roll back. Every person who has a business, whether they collect sales tax revenue or not, has to buy a license every year and go through all this licensing stuff. Another thing the state does is, I think they've done better about it the last year, but all of a sudden with the Corporation Commission, they're telling, well, your business, your corporation has expired. But they have no ticklers, no notices they send you out. So unless every year on your liquor license and on your from the Corporation Commission, you put down on a calendar, make sure to renew license, because they're not going to send you any kind of a notice. You have to remember to do that. And I would say a large amount, I know we've forgotten many times, you forget because you don't have that bill like you have from a normal purveyor.